How has photography
Yeah.
shaped your perspective on life? We had a question, and it's a great question. You can go to the next image if you'd like, and we could kind of just talk about that, because these are the realities of like setting out on a boat, finding these moments, having the struggle to be on the beach like this. It's not for the faint of heart. It's not for the weak in that way, but it's definitely for that adventuresome. I love how you talked about Indiana Jones and those type of things. How has it shaped your perspective on life a little bit, and modified that route?
Well, I actually think it's changed my perspective on life completely. Okay. I think travel and adventure. I think to have adventure, you need a certain amount of hardship. Okay. And I think that's so important because it humbles you, and I think you just learn so much about yourself, and trying to. I think when you have that much discomfort in pursuing adventure,
Yep.
It just gives you so much more reward too, and personal growth, and again, seeing how amazing the planet is. So all these, all my adventures have taken me around the world, and just having such an appreciation for not only like the landscape and the places and the environment and the ocean, but also like the people and the cultures you're interacting with. It just broadens your perspective on the world so much.
Absolutely.
And I just think that is so important in creating, like, being humble, or trying to be like being humbled, and then creating empathy as well, because I think it helps you, see different, cultures from different perspectives, and different
Absolutely.
locations from different perspectives. Like I'm very passionate about caring for the oceans because I have so much experience in the oceans, like I'm sure, of course you do. So I think it's, I think it's changed my perspective significantly.
Yeah.
And profoundly.
I mean, that's what pushes you to go further. That's what keeps you driving to like push ahead, and create these moments. That's great insight. Thank you so much for sharing that, Jody.
Well, yeah, and I actually just wanted to mention, I had this interesting conversation the other day in an interview where somebody was asking like what adventure means to me, or why do we do adventure? And I had just listened to this video with, I don't know if you know who Jordan Peterson is.
No, I haven't heard.
But he's a psychologist. Okay. But he was saying that our brains, like the right and left hemisphere of our brains, we feel the most optimal in terms of happiness and contentness when we are on the edge of chaos and order. So putting yourself in comfortable situations helps you to get to that like edge, right? And so it was an interesting conversation, just because it was helping me understand like why I like adventure. Like it's why it's so rewarding. It's kind of where it's a place where our brains find it most fulfilling. So I don't know. It was a pretty. I know that's
what pushes you to go further. That's why, you know what I mean. That's really helps you to expand that next level of like creativity.
Well, yeah, and I think that's why we keep like seeking this adventure.
Absolutely.
This excitement and adventures and pushing ourselves, because it is this like place of growth and like kind of happiness and learning. Awesome. But yeah.
Incredible.
So I just wanted to show this next image because yeah. So this is the reality behind those photos that we just saw. We had to sleep in our wings that night. So, and it got cold. And yeah, so this is what, the morning looked like. But where we had to sleep for the night. And again, this was just actually around the corner from those last couple images that we saw. And here again from the paraglider, looking through the pass in between these two islands, all these sand drifts coming up, and just again like this aerial perspective. Beautiful. It's just seeing the world from a totally different place, it changes everything.
Absolutely. Love this image.
And, you know, probably my most famous image of Rajan,
Wow.
the swimming elephant.
And this is in the ocean, obviously. It looks deep, almost like you're going.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the bottom there. It's probably, I want to say 40 feet.
Wow.
But yeah, this was in India, in the Andaman Islands. And I had started over the years getting more interested. I had kind of felt like I had done a lot of the athlete stuff and stuff like that. So I started getting interested in getting off the boat and working on stories. So this was one of those, I think this is probably my first big story that I did off the boat, where I saw this movie, a Hollywood movie called The Fall, where it had this elephant swimming in this tropical blue water.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, does that really exist? Or is that some like Hollywood trick or something, you know, is this in a set or something? And so I was like, if it's real, I have to find out where this is and photograph it. So I actually Googled it and found out that,
Wow, I love that.
Elephant living in the Andaman Islands. And so we were going through there in the boat, and I was like, oh, I'm going to hop off for a couple of weeks and try to find this elephant. And I did.
Wow.
And again, another amazing story, but he was brought to the Andaman Islands with a group of 9 other elephants in the 70s to log the islands. And elephants love water, but they don't like salt water. So they were brutally forced to learn to swim in the water. And so they trained them to take the fallen trees out to the barges, swim them out to the barges.
Wow.
And then once the island was logged, they had no way of transporting these 10 elephants to the next island. So they swam in between the islands.
What?
And sometimes 10 miles in between the islands. And this was the last elephant of that group to survive.
Holy God.
So logging became banned in the late 90s in the islands. So these elephants were out of a job. And this was the last one of that group.
Beautiful.
To survive, which is why I call them the last ocean swimming elephant, because they just don't. Wow. You don't see that.
Absolutely. Oh.
And so this is like the jungle, but also like these are the types of trees they were logging.
So this is the same elephant then?
Yep.
Wow.
This is the same elephant. So I did a whole story on this elephant.
That light just does not look real. Gorgeous.
Yeah. And then again, beautiful. Getting off. This is I really like this image. This is a story I was working on in Papua New Guinea. Getting off, I was working on the story about these young kids who don't have any surfboards, and so they carve their own surfboards out of wood, and they rip on these waves. And it was just this, and it just happened to be this amazing tree there that kid just ran out, and that's his little surfboard that he in his hand that he surfs on. I was so impressed with the waves they could ride on there.
That's so fun. Finding these little moments. I mean, that's again why we're doing this. That's where we're going to find those special little stories within an image like that. It's gorgeous. Love it.
Yeah, and I loved it too, because like I got there and I was shooting one thing, and then I saw this amazing tree on the beach, and it's like, and then all these kids play on it, and I was just like, I don't know, how the unexpected is always happening, and you have to evolve with it, and work with it, and it's just so cool because none of it's planned.
Absolutely.
And then again, like I, trying to work more, get off the boat and just learn about, do more stories with different cultures and different people. And I mean, it was amazing. Like I was on our boat and just called her over, and started talking to her, and I was like, hey, can I hop in your dugout with you and cruise around? She's like, yeah, sure. So, you know,
how's that umbrella? It's great.
and then I don't, don't know where we're going. She took me to her village, but, don't know where we're going. But just like, I just love those moments that just, meeting the locals and hanging out with them and learning so much.
Absolutely. That's crazy.
And then, yeah, one of my favorite adventures, this is, some people might have seen this from Red Bull Alone as well. Yeah, on one of our adventures that we were trying to get to the coast to try to find surf.
Jeez.
And the only way to cut through the Sahara is to get on this iron ore train. And you're on it for about 15 hours.
What? In the sun?
Yeah. Well, we hopped on it at like 1 a.m. And then it was really cold at night. I had like I was wearing everything I had 2 down jackets. It was like freezing. And then the day is just so hot. But yeah, and this is they say it's the world's longest train. And then I've heard other people say it's like one of the world's longest trains. It's like over 3 kilometers long, but that's, why I really like this image is that you can just see it kind of going off in the distance, and it just
looks never ending.
Not only it just gives this depth, and the lines too from the side are really like, leading lines that make you want to follow where that goes, and takes your eye through the image in that way.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's just so cool.
Yeah, beautiful.
So, I mean, such a cool experience, but again, the hardship behind it. Where you're just enduring kind of. But
that's commitment. That is some definite commitment to be on there and go through that 15 hours on that is insane.
Yeah, and then you can see in this photo like our little foam. Our little foam pad that we would sleep on. So
did you get good waves or fine waves?
Well, the swell wasn't very big, so we got small waves, but we didn't get big waves. So, and then also what I was trying to do, there's surf on the coast. There's also the shipwreck graveyard. This is in Mauritania, and it had before I went there, it had one of the largest shipwreck graveyards in the world. Wow. So all these huge ocean tankers would get washed up and abandoned there. So I really wanted to take these pictures of surf and these like cool shipwrecks that were deteriorating. But when we got to the coast, most of the shipwrecks that were there had already like dismantled and everything. So unfortunately I only found a couple, but it was again a really really cool experience.
Absolutely. Wow, I love the stories. Wow, Jody, that was we got some more.
But there's more. We still have some more, but I think we're running out of time, right? So
yeah, we're coming close to it. If you want to show us a couple more as we kind of go through there, we could hop on a couple, and then I'd love to jump into some questions just as we go. Oh my goodness, we could go on for hours, guys.
Yeah. Sorry, there's a lot more images here, but
wow.
I'll just run through them super quick.
Yep.
I'll help you out here. We do have some great questions, but Jody, I want to kind of build all of this off of this very first question that we got that we weren't able to get to just in time, but it seemed to be sparking off of your sailing and that sailing opportunity that you had. So I would ask you this question in twofold. The first would be just quite blankly, how did you get that sailing opportunity, which was the question. But then I would ask the second question would be, is if you were starting right now in the world climate that it is, and knowing that we have viewers from all over the world, not just here in the United States, how would you then recommend someone starts today to go out and do what you do? So how did you get started with that sailing opportunity, and what would you do today? And then, any advice?
Yeah, so I mean, to answer the first question, I met somebody who was sailing in the South Pacific. I met them in the States though. And then we just, I had a conversation, and they were like, well, hey, if you're interested, you can come out and join the boat as crew and see if you like it. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to take the opportunity. So I always tell people, like, don't pass up the opportunities, because especially if it's one that you don't get offered every day.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I didn't know if I'd ever get offered again in my life a chance to go sailing in the South Pacific. So I took advantage of that. So I would definitely say, in those moments where it's something kind of unique and different that you don't get asked to do very often, take it.
Right.
And then you can always come back home. You always can come home, but you can't always go do that thing.
Absolutely. Be in that moment.
So yeah, so that's really, really important. And then I would say nowadays, I get asked this question a lot, and I think I would really focus on things that you're personally interested in, whether it's places or stories or certain adventures or different types of sports, and try to meet people in that community. It doesn't even have to be far from home. I mean, especially now we travel. I'm right now working on a local sheep herding project. It's just happening in my area, and it's something that I've always kind of wanted to photograph around here. So now that I can't travel, I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to start doing this. And so what I've done is I just started like calling ranchers and trying to find out where the sheep herders are and where they move and do all this stuff. And once you just take that first step, it's really quite easy to keep going. And I mean, I think there's so many opportunities now to work on either, different unique COVID stories or something related to COVID, or how COVID's changing adventure in your area. And then, like, if you pay attention to those things that you're really passionate about and interested in, I would say those are the ones you kind of want to pursue. And I just start trying to make contacts and think about ways that you can just get that entry point to start learning more about it. Because once you start learning more about it, and then you're showing interest in it and meeting those people who are involved with it, it's just a progression, right? I think the biggest thing I always tell people is just you gotta leave your house. Like you gotta just go. You gotta start doing it.
Absolutely. Wow.
Absolutely. And I think you did a perfect job answering Casey's question, because Casey had asked, do you prefer to shoot individual images or stories? But everything you're talking about starts with a story, ends with a story. So I think that's a great way to word it. So Zak, I'll let you kick it over, and I'll let you talk to Jody and do final words and take it out for us.
Thank you so much, Sean. So again, Jody, we can't thank you enough. Incredible imagery as you're scanning through there. It's just beautiful, beautiful imagery. Follow Jody along on her journey for much more. And hopefully we can get you back over to Hawaii soon once all this is done, and get you out here shooting. Maybe the winter swells coming up here. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, I would love that. And thank you so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this week. And Jody, thank you so much again. And we will see you next week for Between Sets as we journey to a colder climate. So thank you so much, everybody. Take care.
Thanks so much for.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Between Sets. Make sure to like and subscribe to be tuned in on all future episodes. Thank you.